Hi, everybody. Rachelle Jones, Lunch and Live at 11:45. It's Tuesday. Missed Friday last week. I was out of town and had to take care of some business for my family. But we're here. We're back for Tuesday. Lunch and Live 11:45. If you're tuning in and you prefer an audio style where you could actually see me, but it's easier for you to speak your thoughts and communicate that way versus typing and texting here on Instagram, please know that there is a link in my bio. Actually, I think I might have made a mistake with the link in my bio. So let me do that right now because here's what's going on over at my house. Hi, thanks for joining. We got a puppy. And on what, Friday morning? Friday, got a puppy. And to be really honest, it's a bit of work. And I can't even figure out what I'm supposed to be doing right here. Anyway, it's a bit of work. And I can't totally like wrap my brain around all the things, all the little things that we do. Where is this? Oh, there we go. Hold on. The link will be in my bio in just a minute. So for everyone to use. Somewhere. I know it's somewhere. Where am I trying to put this? There we go. Okay. It's officially, the link is in my bio if it's easier for you to speak your thoughts. Okay, now I apologize. Thanks for that moment because I needed to gather my thoughts. So anyway, we got a puppy on Friday morning, 9-week-old little fluffy Bashan ball of white fur. And yeah, Cheryl, you didn't see a link because I just posted it. So hopefully it's going on right now. I wonder if it will update on one forum when I'm on. See, so I'm on 2 devices. Yeah, okay, it's in there now. It looks like it is to me at least. So hopefully you find it. But I heard something outside my office door there. Okay, so we've got a puppy. Is somebody knocking? Do you need to come in? Okay, come in. Is the puppy with you? He's right here. Well, bring him here. Let's show people. Come here, monkey. Little tiny baby. I forgot how much work babies and puppies are. So much work. Oh, you know what I need to do is go here so I can see if somebody. It puts you in a waiting room, by the way. When you come in through Zoom, it puts you in a waiting room, sort of like a doctor's office or something like that. And I have to let you into the meeting from the waiting room. So, well, if he doesn't want to come, it's perfectly fine. He figured out how to go up the stairs yesterday, but he's afraid and he can't get back down. So that's what we're dealing with. Okay, I'm going to close the door back. Excuse me. All right, working from home at its finest. So, babies, puppies, holy smokes. I kind of forgot how much work they are, but they're not a ton of work. So, but they are at the same time. But puppies are definitely less than a baby in some ways. But what's challenging, and I could see it's not hitting me yet, but what I can see is coming that's going to eventually sort of wear me down is stop talking so I don't miss anything. Well, it's not important at this moment, but the potty training and a small dog, you know, the whole world is their toilet. It's challenging to teach a small dog. So, yeah, but potty training kids, does anybody remember that? Very, very challenging and difficult. So anyway, Tuesday is, we kind of talk about more kid issues, things that we're seeing in our children, how to help them navigate and that sort of thing. But what I want to actually say something because we don't always know that we have grief in certain areas. We just don't. And I think it's important to bring up different ways that we might find grief in our life. All right, so that said, roll this down a bit more. One of the ways we might find grief, well, let's first remember what grief is. Grief is the feelings that bubble up Grief are the feelings that bubble up inside of us when we experience a change. So whatever is familiar for us, even if we're having children and we want them and we're excited or whatever, there's a big change that's going to go into our life, right? As far as how we use our time, how we use our sleep, how we use our energy. There are different demands on how we use our energy and all these different things. And so babies, children, puppies, we generally want them and bring them into our life, and they're actually a huge grieving experience for us. And I don't know if you know that you have permission to feel that. So it's the feelings that bubble up with change, and it's the unsaid stuff that's brewing inside of us because of that change. So these feelings bubble up, and we have something we'd want to say, but we don't say it. Maybe we don't feel like we have permission. We don't feel like we're allowed. We don't feel I don't know, all of the things, okay? But we don't say them. Maybe we try, but we can't, or our baby doesn't understand, or we minimize our feelings because they don't really know, and they're just babies. And why would I have this big expectation? So we judge ourselves, we criticize ourselves, we minimize ourselves, which all of that does. We operate under the myths. We get really busy. We stay strong. We just say, give it time. They'll grow out of it. We tell ourselves just don't feel it because they'll grow out of it, or just get really busy so we don't feel it. um be strong, keep busy, give it time, replace the loss, like, oh well, sort of replacing the loss of sleep with a bunch of activity. Or we do all of these things. We operate under the myths, we compare, we minimize, we judge ourselves, and none of that's helpful. In fact, all that does is keep our grief hidden and buried inside. And how about those of us when we have babies or new puppies or something, we hold on to our grief around people who couldn't have children. So now we don't even express it even if we wanted to because of what someone else's situation would be, right? So we're really practiced, and society kind of reinforces. Hi, thanks for joining, friend. Um, Society reinforces all the myths, but it also keeps our grief stuck and buried inside because they don't even give us permission to acknowledge these things, or we're so busy worrying about what others might think or feel with our truth, so we don't express it. So all of that unexpressed emotional energy stays trapped inside even for years. And what we usually do is we start engaging in some activities to numb and suppress and to keep our mind off of it and all those things. We call those STIRBs, short term energy relieving behaviors. They're STIRBs. They don't work long term, they work short term. By the way, anybody who's joined over here, there's a link in my bio if you'd prefer to be audio only over here on Zoom. Sometimes it's easier to unmute yourself and communicate your thoughts. Again, there's no video, so there's a link for that in my bio if you prefer that method. So yeah, I just kind of want to bring attention to a piece of grief is even a positive change. Bringing a baby or a puppy into your home, into your life, can produce feelings of grief. And so for us, it's not been totally difficult yet, and that's why we decided to do it. The kids are home and can be really helpful. My daughter's just knocking it out of the park, doing really great. But the changes for us are, on top of all the other changes with coronavirus, right, are, well, figuring out how to find the pieces. As soon as he moves, we got to go outside. Well, shoot, I wasn't anticipating a 30-minute, visit outside to get him settled, to get him potty, to get him to bed, or, waking up throughout the night. Do you guys remember having children? Was that really difficult for you? Has anybody ever told you that sure, it was a positive experience, but it's a very grievous experience? Has anybody given you permission to say that out loud? It is grief to have children. It's grief. We have feelings of grief, don't we, when we don't exactly know what to do. When my son was born, Google was pretty big around that time. Am I dating myself? Well, Google wasn't always a thing, was it? But when my son was born, I could just look some stuff up, or I had books and different things. And with the puppy, we can look some things up, especially the potty training. I mean, like, legit, this is going to be work. Um, but there's grief. There's feelings of, oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to help you. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to help myself feel differently. Do we ever feel grief because we don't know how to help someone or we don't really know what to do in a situation. So, grief recovery, of course, is not going to tell you how to do everything, but what it is going to do is help you learn what to do with your feelings and your emotions that bubble up in those moments where you don't know what to do. So, you can settle that energy down and then get back in focused and let's try and let's figure it out and let's come with a plan. We have a lot of anxiety when we are looking into life and we don't know what's going to happen and we don't have a plan. We can't perfectly plan for an unknown future, right? That'll produce a lot of energy. That's also called grief. And don't we do that with our kids? We have these thoughts and ideas and these expectations of what they're going to become, but we don't actually know how to make it happen, or we do the best we can to set up this experience or that for them. Then it doesn't go exactly the way we thought, and we have energy produced or feelings bubble up, which are called grief. It is a huge cycle, in and out, up and down, roller coaster, back and forth of grief to raise children or puppies or just pets in general. Did you all know that? Did you know that you have permission to acknowledge that and see that kind of stuff? Did you know that it was called grief? I think it's helpful when we are able to see something and acknowledge it for what it is, which is grief. When we acknowledge something, then we can take steps to make it different, help it be different. We can do some work to help ourselves feel different about a situation. But when we are running from it and operating under the myths, or we're judging ourselves, or we're criticizing ourselves, or we're minimizing ourselves, we don't even give ourselves permission to acknowledge that we have some feelings going on. Therefore, we can't really do anything different. We're just bouncing around, letting fear kind of chew at our heels like this dang puppy keeps doing, chewing at my heels when I walk, a little ankle biter. But we have fear chewing at our heels, which is like, let's do this, let's try this, let's do this. And we get really jumpy, and we're not necessarily sitting and thinking and settling our energy and going forward with a plan. We have this word anxiety today that people use and have a lot of energy floating around in their life. And it's usually just because we don't know what to do when we have a bunch of thoughts and patterns bubble up. So the first step is always awareness. Did you know that? First step in everything is awareness. My back, if I don't become aware that it's hurting, I can't try to figure out why it's hurting and what to do differently. Right? So the first step is always awareness. Hi, thank you for joining. Thanks for joining, everybody. I appreciate you. There's a link in my bio if it's easier for you to join via Zoom. It's audio only. I will not be able to see you, and neither will anyone else. It is just sometimes easier to unmute yourself and speak your thoughts. So awareness is always step number one. And today I'm giving you an awareness of having children or puppies, even though we generally ask to bring those things into our life. They're positive, amazing experiences. But did you know that even positive, amazing experiences can produce feelings of grief? And it's okay to acknowledge them. So first is awareness. The second step is always acceptance. Acceptance of, ow, that hurts. Acceptance of exactly how it's leaving you feeling. Acceptance of, I don't actually know what to do with it. Acceptance of, hey, everything I know is not working. So acceptance of, I might need to ask for help. Acceptance of, I'm going to have to look around and figure out some tools and something new because this one's not really changing. I don't know what to do with it. So awareness, acceptance. I think at that point we can really fall into time heals. Just give it time and it'll eventually change. It will eventually change, but it's not going to erase all those feelings that were just bubbled up. Those are just going to get buried and suppressed and some new stuff on top of it. And that's really when it's not helpful. So awareness and acceptance are huge. That's how we get the ball rolling for different things. And then for us in Grief Recovery Method, we teach you some recovery components, or we teach you how to find the energy inside of you that isn't settled, that isn't feeling good, which with coronavirus, is there not a whole lot of that? And if you have children, I will show you, any specialist is trained, honestly, to show you how to help your kids, because maybe you've become aware that your kids have some grief going on. They're experiencing a lot of change, right? Humans experience grief, not different age groups, but humans in general. We all have feelings develop from what we wish would be different or better about life, from moments that just change is very scary. I mean, think about going back to potty training. When we are potty training children, if you've had that experience, can it not be challenging? Are they not afraid oftentimes to poop in the toilet? Sometimes they're just afraid. What? I've got to let that piece of my body out? No, that's uncomfortable. So potty training can be actually very difficult. It's a grieving experience. We're asking them a very big change, to make a very big change. Or moving from a bottle to a sippy cup can be challenging for kids, or from a bottle to a spoon. It, you know what I'm saying? There, each stage can actually, or we're taking the bottle away. There's a lot of grief that can be going on with our kids. I'm sure you're seeing effects of that here with coronavirus going on. Kids are missing a plethora of things: playtime, friend time, teacher, learning, you know, fun art and craft. I don't do the same style of fun arts and crafts that they get to do at school. I don't play the same way. I don't talk the same way. I'm just different. So try as we might, they're still going to experience grief. They're still going to have feelings and emotions and unsaid stuff bubble up about grief. And so grief recovery specialists are trained to help you step by step, so you know what to do with your kids. And again, step one is awareness of, hey, there's something going on with them. Hey, there's something going on with me. Hey, there's something going on here. Awareness is always step one. When we have awareness, we can move into step two, which is acceptance. I don't know what to do. Yeah, I don't know. That, we could try this. We could try that. And there's nothing wrong with just trying some things, doing some things. But when you realize that the cycle is repeating and continuing, and what you're trying, what you're aware of trying isn't working, please don't just shut off. I remember, actually, I don't know why this is reminding me, but when I was about the summer before sixth grade, I started to be sexually abused. We've talked about that several times. And I remember in that time trying everything I knew to get that to stop. That lasted for about 2 years. But in that first experience, I remember trying everything I knew to get that to stop. And you know what? It didn't. And you know what I did on the inside? Hey, Ariella, what I did is I turned into myself. It's okay. It's okay, Rachelle. I spoke silently, obviously, to myself. It's okay. It's okay, Rachelle. Just give it time. And one day it won't hurt so bad, like emotionally, physically, all the things. Don't we do that? Don't we do that with our kids? When we don't know what to do, we just kind of shut down. We shut off. When we don't know what to do with ourselves, we just kind of shut down and shut off. We go into the expectations of other people. We go into the rhythms. We figure out how to be accepted anyway, and we shut off to what's going on inside of ourselves. We bury down that grief, thinking that time's just going to make it feel better. But you know what? It doesn't. And then life keeps coming and we just keep burying it down. And we want to prevent that from happening in our kids. I didn't come to the grief recovery method until I was maybe 34 or 35. And I thrived. I survived. I thrived. I did great in life in a lot of ways. But I was so emotionally stunted. I had no idea until I went through this class. And one of the big aha awareness moments I had in that very first class was grieve alone. I learned to keep my feelings, my really big ones, silent and quiet inside of myself. I don't know where I learned that, but I did. I learned to keep my grief buried outside of the view of others. I was always fine, okay, and great. And so the value of learning this stuff for ourselves is that we don't teach this kind of stuff to our kids. My first class I became aware of, I would tell my youngest one, if you're going to fuss, you're going to have to go to your room. If you're going to keep whining, you're going to have to go to your room. And so I actually was teaching her to grieve alone. And that, fortunately, I did become aware that that's a huge myth and it's not helpful and it's not any good. But I was teaching her to grieve alone, and that took so much work and focus and energy to undo. And there's still a hint of it in there. I don't know if I'll ever get it all out with her. So the point is, we want to take this time to learn for ourselves so we can be more aware of our kids, so we can accept that we don't know what to do, and then we can actually do something that we know works. because this method is the only one out there proven by science. Another idea, yeah, what did everyone learn as they were growing up that they kind of realized that's not working? That's not working. One here says, we don't talk about it. Oh my gosh, actually, I learned that one too. We don't talk about it outside of this house. I remember getting in so much trouble for that. So you learned we don't talk about it. That's all you knew. Um, Thank you, by the way. Hi, Jones. Thanks for joining. How many of you, show of hands, have believed that we don't talk about it, so you don't? You keep the big, painful, heavy stuff buried. I'm going to work on this. I'm going to read this book. I'm going to listen to that podcast. I'm going to journal it. I'm going to do all these things, which is really doing what? Keeping it outside of the view of all the other people, because we don't know how to express it, and we don't want to risk being judged. We don't want to be broken. We don't want to be fixed. We don't want to be all the things that could possibly happen. You know, when people jump into advice, analysis, and fixing, it feels very judgmental and critical. Well, you don't know what you're doing. You don't know how to do it, so I'm going to fix you. They don't. It's just not helpful. It's counterproductive. And so, yeah, look at bare path healing. Definitely, we don't know. We don't talk about it. And how many of you experience that doesn't go away? It doesn't fix. Maybe it'll calm it down for a little while. Maybe it will, take it out of your front and center awareness for a while. But eventually it'll creep its way back in. And so you get busy again and it'll creep its way back in. You know, your body is always trying to get your attention, and it's going to cause illness, disease, um, talk about like GI upset, IBS, headaches, migraines, muscle pains, muscle aches, problem with your sleep, problem with your appetite, your eating, your focus, your clarity, your energy, because your body is constantly saying, hey, we have some stuff that we haven't paid attention to here, and we want to prevent that from happening with our children. We don't want them to get to age 35 and have 35 years worth of buildup. Did you know that you are qualified to learn this method? It's a 4-week method, so you can help your children. And if you decide to learn it just to help yourself, it's 8 weeks. Once a week for 8 weeks, or once a week for 4 weeks if you decide to learn how to help your kids. But we don't talk about it. Oh, goodness sakes, not helpful. We have another one here. It says, Davises don't cry. There's no crying in this family. Handle it. Ouch! Ouch! Did anybody ever tell you, Davises don't laugh? We don't laugh in this family. Handle it. Of course they didn't, because they were more comfortable. Oops, excuse me. Little earthquake, just kidding. I hope that's not a sign of earthquake. I just bumped my table here. But nobody's going to tell us not to laugh, which is part of being human, right? I think we feel more comfortable with laughing, but nobody taught us what to do with crying and sadness and whatever. And so then we have these intellectual comments develop of, we don't cry in this family. You're going to have to handle it. So what if I told my kids, I don't teach you how to cook in this family. You're going to have to figure it out at age 3. Is that really going to happen? I think in very, very extreme cases, very few and far between, that has happened. But generally, no, right? We don't learn things that we aren't taught. And generally, we are taught really incorrect and unhelpful things. Like, we don't talk about it, or we don't cry. Just not helpful, right? Those are intellectual comments, and we want to learn what these are, how to identify them, and to avoid them at all costs. That starts with us learning them for ourselves, of course, but sometimes people feel more safe to take a helping children with loss class, and so that could be really helpful too. So Davis's don't cry. Bear Paws Healing has raised his hand like, yes, we learned a lot of these intellectual. We call them intellectual because when we don't know what to do, we jump straight into our head. Sorry, you don't want to know, but there was something. When we don't know what to say, we don't know what to do, we just reach in and pull out a tool and offer it because that's what we know. That's what's been used on us. But what's been used on us is generally incorrect and unhelpful. So we want to be super safe and prevent the pass forward, you know what's really interesting? Oh, depression runs in our family. It runs in your family most likely because generation after generation, we've been handing off tools that don't work. They don't work, and they leave us feeling full of grief, and we don't know what to do with it. It bubbles up, and then we teach those same incorrect and unhelpful tools to our children or the people around us, and then it doesn't actually help, and so we just pass them forward. We want to prevent that multi-generational pass through with your kids, with my kids. I started incorrectly or in a way that was not helpful, not serving them well, and I saw the effects of that big time. So I've had to do massive, really focused and intentional work to undo a lot of that. And let me tell you, it's really, really, really exhausting and not easy. Mhm, very much. I was always taught children should be seen and not heard, which is so sad. I mean, gosh, that hurts my heart. I was always taught that children should be seen and not heard, but they need love. But they need to be interacted with. Do you know how much science is out there about the benefits of interaction? Teaching incorrect and unhelpful tools is going to be a lot more beneficial than not speaking at all. Do we get that? I mean, that's so very sad. And so I wonder, have you connected with ways where these myths, these children are seen not heard, or we don't cry, handle it, or did you actually ever figure out what to do, or did you just start suppressing and hiding? Did you know? So I was always taught that children should be seen and not heard. Did you learn how to connect and talk and communicate? Have you put in a lot of work to try to undo that? Because it's exhausting and incorrect and so hurtful. Let's see. Someone else says that's what she heard. Let's see, that children should be seen and not heard. Breaks my heart. I just couldn't. Breaks my heart. And it's so incorrect, right? I mean, we know that. It's incorrect. It's not helpful. And even if we didn't like it, guess what? If that's all we knew, we reteach it usually. Very, very frequently, we reteach what we didn't like simply because we didn't know we were allowed to think differently. We didn't take the time to know that. Nobody ever brought awareness of it or gave us permission for us to look at ourselves and say, I have some stuff in here that doesn't work and it's not feeling good and I don't like it and I want to change it. We don't often even know that it was incorrect and unhelpful until we've already been using it for so many years. And like, oh shoot, this is really not working. I've got to build up here, guys. We want to prevent that from happening in our kids. And this COVID-19 situation is a perfect example or a perfect opportunity for us to be watching what's happening with our kids, with ourselves, with each other, with friends, with neighbors, with whatever, whomever, and help us to become aware of the grief that just hangs out. It helps us become aware of what we say and do that keeps it stuck and trapped inside. We don't want it stuck and trapped inside. It literally eats us alive from the inside out. I think there's a huge correlation between cancer in this society and unresolved grief. We have not paid attention to feelings that bubble up with change. I I think back to like that kind of, is it the Puritans, that kind of hard-nosed um, way, basically shutting off feelings. It's pretty recent that we're getting into therapy and different things. And by the way, if you just have feelings bubble up because of a change, you have some the inability to, you just didn't learn how to express different feelings and emotions because you were told you should be seen and not heard, because you were told just handle it. We don't do that here. It's just part of being human. And so that bubble up, that's eating our bodies from the inside out. It is painful, unhelpful, not cool. We have one here. It's actually intensified things for me. Like it made it worse. Yeah, I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine, because then did you start to sort of feel as though there was something wrong with you? Because, well, I'm not supposed to have these feelings, but I do, and I don't know what to do with them, and so there must be something wrong with me. I mean, I remember thinking that there must be something wrong with me. So I'm certainly not going to tell about it. I'm not going to, but when somebody says, stop feeling that way, did it actually help? Don't feel it. Don't feel bad. Don't feel. It doesn't help, does it? Like Jojo said over here, it made it worse. It intensified it. So true. Not knowing what to do with our feelings, and then also not having permission to acknowledge that they're there, or even having the awareness or the ability to have the awareness. So exhausting and damaging and hurtful. it caused indeed or intense anxiety, like a lot of anxiety. Oh, I can't even imagine. Um, I see that to be so common with people. They have all this anxiety because they're so afraid of what might come that they don't know what to do with all that energy. It's really they're worried about what might come because of what's already happened and that hurt and they want to do everything they possibly can to avoid that type of pain again, but we don't know what's going to come and how it's going to come and what it's going to feel like and I don't know what people are going to think and what it's going to do. Do you hear the anxiety that I'm talking about? And kids are really experiencing that a lot today, and it's important for us to be able to recognize some things and give them tools and equip them so that they can recognize these things in themselves so they know what to do with themselves. Our whole goal in life, right, for when we have children or this puppy, I want them to be well equipped, well trained in life. So I have to work with the puppy, with the children. I have to work. And it's going to take me learning some stuff. So I'm certain what I'm teaching and doing is going to be effective. It eventually caused chronic depression and anxiety. For sure, that Dave says, don't cry. There's no crying in this family. Eventually led to chronic depression and anxiety. Yep. So it takes a lot of learning new tools, but not just learning, we have to use them, right? So it's the combination of using stuff through our experience with what we know, mixing the two, and it comes up with this really beautiful, you put them in a shaker cup, what you know, what you know, what you know. Hopefully it's learning new stuff. And then your different experiences from the past, from the future, you put them in this big shaker cup and it pours out this beautiful, very unique and individual wisdom. And wisdom is what we're aiming for, knowing what to do in our life. But guess what? We can't gain wisdom by just learning some stuff. We gain wisdom by putting the stuff into practice in our various experiences, whether past or present. And so wisdom is not this thing we just have tucked into a pocket. It's this thing we need to pull out and use and apply regularly. It takes a lot of practice, right? So, and depression and anxiety, those are not quick snap, push the button, I learned some new stuff and I got it out type of situations. So if your child or yourself has fallen into these really scary, painful pockets called depression or anxiety, chronic means it keeps coming up. Chronic meaning it keeps hitting us, means we need to get into some new practices and some new routines and some new patterns of thinking, patterns of doing, and mixing up, adding new information so that our patterns of thinking and doing start to change. And that's really what we are after, is creating new patterns and habits, because the patterns and habits that we were in are not serving us well. They're hurting. They're hurting. The unseen becomes the seen if you neglect those emotions. Truth. So true. Do you know how many, I don't know why it's reminding me of this, but one of my favorite places to work when I was a nurse, so not places, but patients to work with, I realized really quickly I loved working with kind of like the geriatric population, the older population. They just full of stories and they just need someone to talk to. And that's so beautiful. Of course, I didn't know these things back when I was a nurse, and so it would have been helpful. But I loved my geriatric population, and even the persnickety, little, tough, difficult ones, because I knew it was coming from a pocket of hurt. Of course, I didn't know what to do with it then, but it is so true that, they have, a lot of them have lifetimes of, sorry, I just saw an old patient in there, but anyway, he was a POW, MIA for a while, but he was a POW, a prisoner of war, and boy, he had quite a story, but he had such a sweet disposition. Anyway, but so many of my little old geriatric patients would, they were just mean. They were just mean. And I could see very much that, sometimes it was because they were alone, and I couldn't help but wondering, are they alone because their kids were like, I can't take that nasty, mean energy. It comes out, it comes out in so many ways. Even right now today, if I have too much grief that I haven't dealt with, it's been bubbling up, or just new things that I haven't dealt with as quick as they were coming or whatever, I am a little different human. My fuse is a little shorter, or I find a little less joy, or I can't really find things to be grateful for. There's nothing wrong with you, by the way, when these things start happening. It just means that there's something in there that we need to pay attention to, that we need to do completion work on. We call it grief recovery, because grief is all the feelings that are bubbling up because of change, things that you wish would be different, things that you wish would be better or more, like more hugs, more I love yous, more connection, more joy, more whatever, more money, more support, more safety, more trust, more acceptance. Okay, so you have feelings bubble up about all of that. And we call it grief recovery, because grief can really like insert itself, can't it? It can just show up when you didn't invite it, when you're trying to go to sleep, when you're trying to focus on something else, when you're in the shower, when you're on the toilet. It just needs a little sliver of a crack of light. And boom, that awareness is there. It takes over your moments, takes over your life in some ways, right? So we call it recovery, because recovery means taking back what's yours. And what's yours is your focus, is your sleep, is your calm, is your peace, is your awareness, is your happiness, is your joy, is your gratitude. I want you to have those things back. They don't have to be lost for good. And I certainly don't want your kids to grow up without those things, as some of us did over here. It just doesn't feel good. So grief recovery, I want you to recover the control and power over your emotions, so they don't just insert themselves like this snotty little puppy. He's such a great little, I say snotty because he's so cute. It's just ridiculous. He's so cute and bratty. Oh, let's see. There's no crying in baseball. Wes in the movies. Always using the movies and the song um, analogies. Well, but that's true, right? There's no crying in baseball. And I remember living on that when I played softball. There's no crying in baseball. You know, yes, I just got smashed in the face when I was playing up for a bunt on third base and they line drived it to my face. That hurt. I remember having my lips stuck to my braces a week before I got them off. That hurt, but there's no crying in baseball. I mean, it's everywhere. Where movies, all the things are our teachers. You know that it's not just your parents. It's your aunts, it's your uncles, it's your siblings, it's your teachers, it's anybody who's taller than you basically becomes a teacher. Movies, TV, internet, there's so much out there that's our teacher. And I'm going to tell you, some of the most educated people are teaching incorrect and unhelpful information. I see it all the time. And it's frustrating for me. It's really frustrating because I know how that long term is going to affect people and keep them stuck in their grief. So it's important. Unseen equals emotions. Seen equals disease. So true. Are we okay? Who is like super only the best nutrition for my kids? They've got to exercise, they've got to have sunshine, their vitamins, their minerals, we pay all this attention to our kids. They're going to have the best education. We're going to pay a bunch of money, or we're just going to work really hard. I want them to study really hard or be the best in their sport, blah, 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 blah. Did you know all of that? Every single thing you do can be canceled out if we don't have good emotional training. Did we know that? You can give your kid organic everything, dairy-free, gluten-free. You can do all the frees. But if they don't learn how to handle their emotions well, they're still susceptible to depression, anxiety, headaches, migraines, IBS. My tummy hurts. I don't want to go to school. That's what usually that's about. There's some kind of grief situation going on in their life that they don't know what to do with. And so then I could say handle it, but then they don't know what to do with it. So grief, woo, it's everywhere. They get diarrhea, they get stomach aches, their immune system's down. I remember I said I was abused the summer before 6th grade. Guess what happened to me in 6th grade? I never spoke about that, by the way, until I was like 27. So guess what happened to me in 6th grade? About every couple of months, I had strep throat. I was having disease. My body was like, I cannot keep up all of this stuff. Do you have a child that's sickly despite all your efforts? Do they get skin rashes? Do they have, eczema can flare up, inflammation, um, whatever it's going to be. You can be perfect in all the areas, but I'm really sad to say if we don't have good emotional training and awareness, it could all be thrown out the window. I'm sadly too to say that we're seeing a lot of suicide in kids, adults. I remember when I was in high school, one of my great friends, his little brother killed himself and completed suicide in was he in sixth grade? This is growing more and more frequent as we get older and or as time keeps going. We're not sound emotionally, and it's having a massive effect on our kids. And you may not see it in sixth grade, you might not see it until 18 or 25 or 35 or 50, but it is there, and it is going to show up eventually, either through their behaviors, their attitudes, or their physical body with disease and whatnot. Okay, so we could say heart disease runs in our family. That likely could be true. That likely could be true. But it also is worth looking at. What is the emotional intelligence that's been passed on from generation to generation? It starts with you becoming aware. It starts with you accepting that, hey, perhaps there's something I don't know. And it starts with you learning something new so that you can apply it, but also help your kids. Be more aware, help your kids. They're just little guys. Yes, Chris, yes, we see unseen equals emotions. So true. Seen is disease or ailments. Yes, they say so true. Huge reason why I'm uncomfortable with people crying around me, or why I feel uncomfortable crying like it's bad. Oh my gosh, isn't that so true? Because of what your childhood learning was, which this person was saying, the we don't cry in this family, handle it. So now, as an adult, they're uncomfortable with people crying. So that's a sign of when we've really reached a really good, healthy pattern of emotional awareness and intelligence, is when we are comfortable with sitting with other people. When we become practiced and comfortable with sitting with other people through their emotions. Completely the truth. I was so deathly uncomfortable with emotions in a lot of ways myself because I didn't really know what to do, right? I just wanted them to feel better. I wanted to fix them. I just wanted them to feel better. And so if they cried, obviously they weren't feeling better. I didn't realize the benefit. I didn't know the training, which here you go, teaching moment. When someone is crying in your midst, do you know what you need to do? Nothing. You need to sit there and be quiet. You need to sit there and be quiet. Don't interrupt them. Don't touch them. Don't try to rub their back and console them. Consoling means stop it. But I'm just trying to help them. Stop it. It's not helpful. We don't do that with people. What we do is sit near. We sit present. We sit heart to heart, face, heart to heart. We keep our eyes focused on them. We feel their moment quietly, silently. Let them have their moment. Don't interrupt it. Because what happens when you interrupt it? Whoa, they tuck it back in the suitcase called their body. So that's a teaching moment. When someone is crying, please, please, please sit on your hands, bite your cheek, suck in your tongue. I don't care what you do, but sit there quietly. Let them have their moment. When they're all done with their tears, then we could say, you're something. Sometimes I generally say, like, I'm so sad you're hurting so much. Are you accepting hugs? I ask because I am sad when people are sad. I do hurt when people hurt, but I can't fix them. I have to get really comfortable with that. So I stay present with them because grieve alone, oh, you just need some alone time. Oh, I'm going to let you have this moment. And so I get up and leave. What that's saying is I'm not comfortable with your feelings. And if that's what you're trying to tell them, your prerogative. But if it's not, if they are valuable to you, your little people as well as your big people, sit in the area, let them cry, and then let them go if they need to. But I usually will say, thank you for sharing. Are you offering, or are you accepting hugs? And if they say yes, we hug them heart to heart. We've talked about this before. We hug them heart to heart. We hug them firm, still, tight, quiet. And we hug them just like that, even if you're uncomfortable, until their shoulders kind of let go. then they got what they needed, and we helped them fill back up. Okay? So you offer the hug, listen to the yes or no, hug them firm, still, and tight, and then let go. Okay? All right, I just want to hug you. I know, right? My sweet, sweet friend here has gone through some stuff, and I've seen her fight like mad too. She's a dang warrior. I've seen her fight like mad. She's one of the people I feel most safe with my kids. Now that tells you something, doesn't it? And my kids choose her every time. That says something. That does say a lot. They love a lot of people, but she's at the top of the list. So what she learned, she has fought like mad to learn new things also. And I'm dang proud of her for that. And I'm so glad. Do you see that she even has the awareness to say that out loud? That's a big deal. Let's not lose that. She's got the awareness to see it, recognize it, and express it. Because when we get to that point, awareness and acceptance, we can do something differently. Kids actually have the most incredible insight and wisdom. We should be learning from them. Yes! Yes, yes, yes. They came here exactly doing what they're supposed to do. They came here with absolute lineup and integrity of the bits that they know, their knowledge, their intuition, and their emotions. They came here lined up. We change them and pull them out of alignment from all of that. You don't cry unless, it's convenient type of thing. You don't cry, you should speak type of thing, right? So we pull them away from that. And it's really funny watching this puppy because I reflect back to they're just in perfect alignment. If they want to chew, they chew. If they want to bite, they bite. If they want to bark, they bark. They need to pee, they need to pee. They don't care that I'm trying to teach them to potty outside. And our kids do the same thing. They don't care if when our babies are born, when they're hungry, they're going to cry, and they're going to cry louder, louder, louder until somebody responds, right? But you're totally right there, Joe. I 2, 3, 4, 5. My favorite age to watch around like it could change. It's could change, but around like 8 is when they start to worry. I don't know. I don't know. I might get in trouble if I say that out loud, or I might, they might get upset with me, or it might, I don't know what it's going to feel like. So they start holding bits of themselves back. And that's really sad to start to see that change. But the younger, the better that we can see how truth looks. We can feel embarrassed or upset or frustrated or whatever, but they're the perfect little people to be watching. You're totally right with that. When someone cries, I want to hug to quiet them. Very uncomfortable. Yeah, that's great for you to be aware of, because once you're aware of it and you see it, you could catch yourself and be still. So thank you. Thank you for your feedback, because that's so true. And it's not bad. I want everyone to hear that this stuff isn't bad. It's just not helpful. So the fact that you're aware of it and able to call it out and express it is so beautiful, because then maybe you can insert a new thing, which is to sit there, be quiet, don't touch them, don't bother them. And when they're done, thank you so much for sharing. Are you accepting hugs? Take a breath. Take a breath. While you have that pause because you're letting them have their moment, breathe. We had to entertain ourselves because the adults were talking and being told children are to be seen and not heard. I remember hearing this and it hurts my heart. Oh my gosh. If we really understood the treasure that children are, we wouldn't tell them those things, would we? If we understood the treasure that we have in these kids, we wouldn't say, go over there while I do my adultness. I mean, sometimes we have to. I mean, let's be honest. We're all working, many of us are working from home right now, and there is an element of, at some point, I got to get some work done and I'm going to need you to go over there. But it can't be the way we live our life. We need to see them as valuable, their concerns, their thoughts, their worries as valuable, because their perspective is only this big. They're just little. They're growing, even your teens. I feel like I have a teen and I feel like the perspective's gotten small again while that front brain is really developing. But I know it's going to open back up. Please, please. I know it's going to open back up. So part of the reason for the struggles as an adult, yeah, of course. Of course, feelings are so uncomfortable because nobody taught us what to do with them. It becomes, you've got to be aware that the feelings are uncomfortable for you because nobody taught you what to do with them. Once you become aware, you can accept that, hey, nobody taught me what to do with them, and you can accept new teaching and training. But as long as you're like, nope, 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 I know everything. Nope, I've got it figured out. Nope, my kids are doing great. I'm doing great. Everything's going great. As long as you say I'm great and I'm fine, I can't help you. I just can't. Oh, my cousin's here. Hi. Oops, crumbs, I pushed a button. Dang, I hate when I do that. Let's see. Is everyone, how are we doing here? Let's see. Did we get everything? Hey, cuz, I'm a recovering griever. Aren't we all? We're all in recovery as long as we choose it. We're not as long as we decide we already know all the answers. That doesn't work. That's great. Hey guys, love you guys. Oh, thank you. I love you too. Thank you for being here. What a nice treat. Good reminder. Default is comfort with actions like rubbing or cuddling. Oh, good. I'm glad you learned. Reminder, reminder, reminder. You know, I read these books, listen to books. I put this into practice as often as I can, but not to perfection, because this isn't about perfection. It's about awareness. Because when you are aware and you practice being more and more aware, you practice at being practiced. Guess what? You can apply this stuff in the moments when it's needed, but not all the moments, because you're human too. So then when you mess up, you know what to do to help yourself out of it. But we're still human. I'm still human. I'm still going to make mistakes. And I actually feel comfortable that I'm allowed to make mistakes, because it's just human. I want to show my kids that it'll screw up. I don't know about, do anybody else have screw up moments? It's okay to teach your kids that, but it's also good to teach them what to do when they do make those mistakes. An appropriate way to apologize, an appropriate way to forgive. Forgiveness is not a mind thing. We don't just naturally forgive people. We've got to do some stuff, and then we feel the relief in our heart. And if you don't know what the do some stuff is, please join me. I mean, for Pete's sake. Good reminder. Let's see. It takes some getting used to just sitting there doing these, the moment of crying. Yeah, of course, it sure does. It does take some getting used to. It's not easy, especially when it's your child. Everything in you since they've been born has been like, shh, 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 calming them, cooing them, helping them settle down. But guess what? As they grow a little bit, we need to stop doing that and let them cry and let them know it's okay to cry, that we don't need to pull them out of it. It will pass. Nobody's going to cry themselves to death. Nobody's ever drowned in a sea of tears, even though it could feel that way. And that's a great thing. Just stay present, stay near, stay in the same room. Just don't touch, okay? All right, everybody, that's all the time for today. I'm sure thankful for your heart, for your time, for your focus, for your vulnerability. Sharing your life and experiences out loud is everything. Thank you for even looking into yourself and becoming aware of those things. And thank you for expressing them out loud for the rest of us, that we can have teaching moments, growing moments, hopefully connecting moments when we start to realize that we aren't alone. We're all humans, and almost all of us have been taught incorrect and unhelpful information, because then we can learn some new stuff. Guys, this is Rachelle Jones, Lunch and Live, 11:45 on Tuesday. We'll be back on Friday at 11:45 Pacific time. When you see these things show up on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and share. We need to pass out this good information. We need to take over the internet. There's so much incorrect, unhelpful stuff. We need to make sure there's some helpful stuff out there that's true, correct, and helpful. So I love you guys. Thank you.